to Chapter 1, The Helpless Reality. This is war. It is a war between the entire human race and evil forces. In such urgent days, I want to tell everyone that our government has not been defeated. Human perseverance is invincible, and people from all countries are united. This is the birth of a new era. My fellow citizens, the dark days will eventually pass, and the myth of the immortality of wizards will become a thing of the past. Our scientists have discovered the weapon to break the magic of wizards, and our army will take back the lost land to save our people. Give us a free and democratic country. According to the British Prime Minister's impassioned speech on TV, a group of shining missiles pierced the sky and flew towards several clear targets. The mushroom cloud caused by the explosion destroyed almost all buildings covering dozens of square kilometers. What's shown on TV is in our place? Merlin, get out of here quickly. Oops, I can't apparate. Damn muggles. Ah. Petunia heard people's screams in her ears, and she grinned silently without her eyes. Hell, you wizards who think you are superior, do you think it is so easy for ordinary people to rule? Simple-minded wretches, monsters with only a few people want to rule a world of ordinary people that is tens of thousands of times larger than them? Go to hell. Go to hell. Curse you to a bad death, to be divided and burned in hell forever, wailing in pain, and let your Merlin die. She kept cursing, the sound of missiles breaking through the roof, and the scorching flames came over and burned everything in an instant. Penny opened her eyes suddenly, gasping for breath, and the surroundings were dark. She reached out and touched her forehead and felt that it was covered with sweat. The sound of chains made a sound at her wrists. The heavy chains tied to her body prevented her from moving freely. She struggled to sit up and sat motionless in the darkness. Start having that dream again, that dream of death. She is Petunia Dudley, and she knows very well who she is, not the so-called Lily Evans in this world, nor the Petunia Evans she later changed her name to at her strong request. Her surname is no longer Evans. In the world she came from, darkness and terror shrouded the world. A mad wizard named Voldemort led the wizard army to create wars everywhere. For the first time, wizards truly appeared in people's eyes. Killing and blood ruled the world, and ordinary people were killed mercilessly. Her nephew Harry Potter, the prophesied savior who would kill Voldemort, joined the war when he turned 17, still a child. What could they do? Failed. Everything was ruined. Harry died. The wizard's flag against the evil madman fell, and the wizards began to kill people crazily, killing ordinary people, especially the notorious wizard group called the Death Eaters, which were all madmen. Her husband, her son, and her were wanted all over the world because they were relatives of a savior. No matter where they fled, they were eventually caught. In such a dark environment, Petunia seemed to see Vernon and her Dada being crushed in front of her again. They looked terrified, and Dada had tears in her eyes. He called for his mother, but she was unable to do anything. Because she was Harry's blood relative, she was left to the end. They used cruciatus on her over and over again, and cut off her hands and feet to let the blood flow. They also gouged out her eyes, but did not let her die. In the dark, she listened to the harsh laughter of those people and discussed how they would torture her tomorrow. However, they did not expect that ordinary people would fight back. The power of the improved missiles destroyed everything. Wizards are not indestructible or invincible. The hatred that could not be suppressed in her heart made her laugh wildly. It was destroyed. Everything was destroyed. Hell. She thought death was the end. She thought everything was over, but everything was not over. Why was she still alive, returned to her childhood, and became her hated sister Lily? There was no existence of Petunia in this world. Only Lily. Why only Lily? Then who is she? She is Petunia. She is not Lily. Not the Lily who knows witchcraft. Penny laughed crazily in the darkness, laughing so hard that she was out of breath. Tears fell from the corners of her eyes, but she was still laughing. If she was in a bright place, she could see that the light in her eyes changed and became deeper, and the expression on her face gradually turned cold. There was a slight click of the lock opening, and the chains binding her hands, feet, waist, and neck retreated to both sides like snakes. The unbound little girl jumped out of bed and stepped onto the wooden stairs leading upwards with bare feet, pushing the wooden board above her head. It was indeed locked. Penny skillfully controlled the lock cylinder to open the big lock that fastened the wooden board in the basement where she stayed. She pushed open the trap door and walked out quietly with short red hair that had been gnawed by a dog. She walked all the way. "OS, it's you." Her mother's voice disappeared immediately after she poked her head out of the kitchen and saw that it was Penny. She was so frightened that she let go of her hand, and the onion in her hand fell to the ground. Penny stared at the onion, which stopped and slowly floated up. The little girl's pale skin and cold green eyes, because she had not seen the sun for many years, were creepy and terrifying. "Penny, do you want to go out?" Ma Maria tried her best to smile, but it turned out to be uglier than crying. Petunia let the onions return to her mother's hands, turned around, and walked out without answering. "Penny Dash," the little girl turned her head. Her penetrating green eyes made her mother's teeth chatter. She suppressed her fear and said, put on your shoes." Petunia turned her head away and walked out of the house without paying attention. The sound of the door closing made her mother jump. Then she gasped for breath. It was terrible. That was her child. That cold aura was definitely not the behavior of a 10-year-old child. Why was her child like this? God, what mistake did she make to punish her like this? That was the child she gave birth to in her 10-month pregnancy. Tears fell from the poor mother's eyes. As she wiped her eyes, she shed more and more tears. "This damn onion," she muttered in a low voice, but the tears flowed more fiercely. The child was obviously born as a result of her and OS's expectations. There had been a normal time when their family lived happily. When did it start specifically? She will never forget that day when Lily was 5 years old. That was Petunia's previous name. She was such a well-behaved girl at that time, with a cheerful and bright smile, and a pair of green eyes full of curiosity about the surrounding environment that could melt all solid ice. The neighbors around her liked her. She was helping Lily comb her hair that day. Lily said she wanted to tie 2 braids, so she helped her comb her hair. Lily seemed to be asleep. Before she could comb 1 braid, Lily suddenly woke up and stood up suddenly. She looked around in panic, with a face full of fear. When she saw her, her eyes were blank, and then she saw the person in the mirror. She suddenly screamed, and she couldn't stop screaming, as shrill as a wail. She scratched her face desperately, and scratched her face with blood marks. As she screamed, the mirror broke, and most of the things in the room had cracks. From that day on, the well-behaved child disappeared. She said her name was not Lily. She didn't want to be called Lily. She was Petunia. She was Petunia. Since that day, Penny showed an unstable state, and the couple took her to see a psychiatrist many times, but nothing improved. Penny was able to break things out of thin air more and more frequently, and she was almost discovered several times. They had to move out of the original community and live in a remote place, thinking that she would be able to break things out of thin air. Their love and medication can make Penny slowly get better, but the child's condition is getting more and more serious. She begins to have a split personality, which is good and bad. When she is better, she will ask to be locked in the basement with chains, but when another personality appears, no one can stop her. God, who can save her child? To restore her bright smile and vibrant green eyes? For this she is willing to sacrifice everything, even her life. Holding the onion tightly, she slowly slid to the ground and sat on the floor, crying silently. 3 Chapter 2 Don't Mess With Me. The sky outside the house was gloomy, and the breath of early spring had begun to fall on the earth. The snow had just melted, and in some dark places, the snow was still curled up stubbornly. The weather was very cold, and Petunia only wore a shabby gray-white long-sleeve dress, with her hair on her head. With messy red short hair, she walked along the country road like a wandering spirit. Her feet without shoes didn't care that the mud stained her white toes, and she stepped on the cold, muddy ground caused by the melting snow as if she didn't feel anything. Penny's current home is in a relatively remote suburb, and the residents are far apart. Due to World War II, the population of Britain is very small. Although it has not been fully recovered after decades, the suburbs are even sparsely populated. Penny has not met anyone along the way, and she doesn't care if she meets people or is regarded as crazy. She is immersed in a person's world. The little girl sat expressionlessly on the swing in the children's amusement park. The swing swayed gently, making an old creaking sound like an old man's breathing. She sang a self-composed song over and over again. The sky is black, green skull and snake glowing. Red rain, who is crying. I once had a home, capable husband, good baby. The black monster broke down the door. Cut off my hands, break off my feet. Mom, Mom, save me. My baby is shouting. My baby is crying. The monster took away my eyes. I can't see you. Honey. Evil monster laughing. Grab the heart. Take out the liver. Pull out the tongue. Throw down your head. Throw it all aside. La la la. Hum hum hum. I can't save you. My darling. Angels are mourning. Satan smiles at me. Give my blood. Offer my flesh. Give my soul. Hell opens its doors. The fire of purgatory destroys everything. Hum, 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 la, la, la. Satan lied to me. Angel is crying. The devil is laughing. Silly girl, silly girl. La, 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 silly girl. Staring at the sky, Penny kept repeating the last verse. After a while, she closed her mouth and hummed an unorganized tune, repeating the last verse over and over in her mind. Penny stared at the bare branches not far away. The branches swayed directionlessly in the cold wind like a monster with teeth and claws. Just like her, she became a monster, the monster she hated the most. How ridiculous. Her life was the biggest joke. She was a monster, a hateful monster. How ridiculous! How ridiculous! She hummed, and the corners of her mouth curved in a strange way. From the outside, all they see is a pale little girl of 8 or 9 years old, swinging on a swing, mumbling something. Listening carefully, she hears a piece of music with a weird tune, and her appearance is particularly creepy. It makes people wonder if she is real, or is she an evil ghost crawling out of hell? While she was in trance, a group of children living nearby came to the playground, which was a place built by the community for children to have fun. The children were still laughing and joking, but they all became quiet when they saw Penny swinging on the swing. The children gathered around and discussed for a while. Then a little boy who was the tallest and strongest came over. He was the representative elected by all the children. He had always been the eldest and the boldest among the children, but after getting within 1 meter of Penny, he clearly felt that the temperature of the air had dropped a few degrees. Goosebumps all stood up, as if all the heat had been sucked away. He saw the bruises from being tied up because she grabbed the chain next to the swing and slid her sleeves down. The little girl was not wearing shoes. She was barefoot on such a cold day, and there were bruises on her ankles. Her hair was long and short, and the longest could not exceed 5 inches. Her scalp could almost be seen in the short places. She was just like the victims who were brutally killed by the murderer in the movie. It was so scary. Hey, you, what's your name? The little boy wanted to cry. He was elected by his companions. He originally planned to drive her away with his mighty kingly aura, but now he really wanted to turn around and run back. Penny slowly turned her head and looked at the little boy. He was tall and tall, a bit like her 10-year-old dada. The expression in her eyes became slightly warmer. Although she did not answer the little boy, she did not continue singing, and the smile at the corner of her mouth turned into a gentle line. Hey, you, do you have a name? Seeing that she didn't seem as dangerous as he thought, the little boy spoke louder. Seeing that Penny didn't answer him, the little boy seemed a little unhappy. His courage came back, and when he saw the eyes of his companions standing far away, he didn't seem to understand that this strange girl was talking bad about him. Hey, I'm talking to you. Why don't you speak? Are you mute? He was so evil that he stepped forward and pushed Penny's shoulder hard. Penny had been distracted and was accidentally pushed hard. Her body fell backwards and fell off the swing. Her arm hit the hard stone, and red blood slowly oozed from the arm of the old dress. The little boy was frightened by the cold look in Penny's green eyes when she fell. She didn't even reach out to grab the rope of the swing, but just stared at him with eyes like ice water. After falling to the ground, she kept staring at him. She was indeed like a vengeful female ghost crawling out of hell. He felt that his hands and feet were numb, and he couldn't exert any strength as if his body was tied by invisible ropes. It's you, who don't speak. The little boy was breathing rapidly, and his heart was pounding wildly. He trembled and said, wanting to raise his hand to hit her, "He has always been the little bully here. Anyone who doesn't listen to him will be punished, regardless of gender." But facing Penny, he really didn't dare to shake his fist at her, and he couldn't raise his fist at all. God, how could this happen? This girl is a ghost. The sky is black, green skull and snake glowing. Red Rain, who is crying. The monster took away my eyes. I can't see you. Honey. Evil monster laughing. Grab the heart, take out the liver, pull out the tongue. Throw down your head. Throw it all aside. Penny slowly climbed up from the ground with a weird smile on her face and stood on the swing. She softly sang a song with a weird tone and even weirder lyrics. The swing slowly began to sway without any external force, and the amplitude was very large at first. The amplitude gradually increased, and he watched in fear as the girl's pair of green eyes stared at him emotionlessly and sang a strange song. His legs were shaking. It was so scary, so scary. Who would save him? He was going to be caught and eaten by the monster. Angels are mourning. Satan smiles at me. Give my blood. Offer my flesh. Give my soul. Hell opens its doors. Help, help, no, don't kill me. The little boy screamed. He didn't want to go to hell. A stone hit Petunia's forehead. The sharp edge of the stone scratched Petunia's forehead. Blood oozed out from the wound and then flowed down. She was stunned for a moment and suddenly stopped the swing and looked at the little boy who hit her with a stone. You monster, let Charlie go quickly. The little boy shouted with courage. In fact, he was also scared to death. No one else dared to come over. He was the only one who came to save his boss. But now that he saw that she would be injured and bleeding, he was no longer afraid. He turned around and shouted to the others, "Hurry up, let's kill this monster." Seeing this, everyone else threw the stones they had prepared at Penny. When the little boy named Charlie found that Penny could move while she was in a daze, he quickly ran back to his companions, picked up small stones from the ground and threw them at her, hoping to take back the humiliation of her begging for mercy and crying. Petunia was hit repeatedly by rocks. She was so dumbfounded that she didn't even know how to resist. Monster! She is a monster! She is a monster! A monster! No, I'm not a monster. I'm not Audace. She held her head, unable to suppress the grief and anger in her heart. She screamed with all her strength and wailed with all her life. As she screamed and roared, cracks appeared on the ground with her as the origin. Spreading out, the gravel generated on the ground floated. After Penny's scream stopped, she looked at the group of frightened children with tears in her green eyes. The blood on her forehead dripped down and dyed the tears red at the corners of her eyes, as if she had shed a line of blood tears. She jumped off the swing and approached the children as if they were not touching the ground. She grabbed the bruised arm with one hand and squeezed it hard. The clotted wound broke open again. Blood flowed down the arm and dripped from the back of her hand from the tips of her fingers. Penny looked at the blood and smiled. The children stood there shivering in fright. Everyone found that they could not move, and the timid ones almost fainted from fright. Don't faint, or you'll be captured by monsters and sent to hell. Penny was delighted by the children's reactions. She felt that something was being added to the hole in her heart, and her timid self was slowly draining away. She wanted to destroy, to intimidate, The bloody hand raised, choosing among a group of children, and finally landed on the face of the child named Charlie, who looked most like Dada. My baby, how can mother love you? Charlie was so frightened that he'd surged between his legs when Penny's hand touched his face. He was so frightened that he peed his pants. Dear Dada, why are you so scared? Mom will never hurt you, never. Her eyes were kind, but little boy Charlie only felt a chill rising on his back. He felt very unlucky, and he would be eaten by the female ghost. Mom, 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 help me. He started crying, with tears and runny nose running down his face. Petunia was stunned for a moment, then her consciousness slowly came to her senses. She stared blankly at a group of scared children. What on earth did she do? She recalled it and discovered that she had once again started to use the witchcraft she despised most uncontrollably and frightened the children until they turned pale. She staggered back, her bloodless face now pale and slightly green. Quickly go. The children looked at her timidly. Penny yelled at them, Go away now, or I'll kill you all. She glared at them fiercely. Don't come here again, or I'll take you to hell. Only then did the children realize that they could move again. This time they cried and ran away. Don't even think about telling others. I know where you live, and no one can lie to me. Penny's voice chased them from behind, almost frightening them. These children never came here again in their lifetimes. This playground was said to be a scary place haunted by female ghosts. In the future, it attracted a group of young people who were enthusiastic about studying ghosts. Finally, based on various rumors, it was speculated that the so-called female ghost might be Penny Evans, who once lived here. This incident was later written into Penny's biography as a country anecdote. The author of the biography once specifically asked Penny about this, and she just smiled and asked, What do you think? The author has something to say. Petunia is a child because she cannot accept the fact that she does not exist, and because she is reborn as Lily, whom she loves and hates. The only love she has for Lily was because her family was tortured and killed in her previous life. If she had not arrived in this world, she would not exist. Therefore, she is in pain, torturing herself and the people around her. P.S. Why doesn't the storage box I use show up? It's really a piece of cake. Did this damn system swallow up my updates? For Chapter 3, The First Insult in Life. A. The fastest update, HP, Penny's latest chapter. In the empty playground, the swing gradually stopped swinging alone, and the metal supports were stained with rust. The little red-haired girl in a gray-white dress looked up at the gray sky with a sad face and was lost in thought. Her skin showed an unhealthy paleness and transparency in the cold wind, and the blood vessels underneath could be clearly seen through the skin. She was like a stone sculpture staring at the sky with empty eyes, and the cracks in the ground under her feet were like a huge spider web netting her in the center. A little boy wearing ill-fitting clothes secretly observed the motionless Penny through the branches of the bushes. He held his breath and clenched his fists, hesitating to come out from his hiding position. However, the little girl's blood-stained clothes, her strange hairstyle, and her attitude towards the group of children made him hesitant. However, this was the first time he had seen a child like him. He lowered his gaze to look at his clenched fists and finally decided to wait and see. When he raised his gaze again, the strange little red-haired girl was no longer where he was. He was surprised for a few seconds and turned around to look for her traces, but found nothing. The cold wind howled like a wild beast. If it weren't for the cracks on the ground that looked like spider webs, he would have thought that the red-haired little girl and a group of children running away, crying and running away were all hallucinations. He stood up and came out of the bushes, staring blankly at the huge cobweb cracks on the ground. He felt a little melancholy because he didn't come forward to talk to her. Suddenly, a cold voice that sounded like it came from the depths of hell sounded from behind. There's another one. He was so frightened that he almost jumped up from where he was. He quickly turned around and took several steps back. The cold air rushed into his mouth that was open due to nervousness and poured into his trachea. The urge to cough made him cough uncontrollably. No. He coughed until his face turned red. Penny stared at his face, stunned. She was very familiar with this boy. Who was he? She had seen him before, otherwise it wouldn't have given her a sense of familiarity. Her memory was regressing little by little, excluding the colleagues, friends and neighbors after marriage, classmates from university, high school, and elementary school, and then she remembered who this person was, because he had always appeared with Lily, and by the way, it was this person who snatched Lily away and made her go to Hogwarts without hesitation to become a witch, making her gradually alienate from her sister. She couldn't remember the specific name, but his face gradually became clearer. How could she forget it? Even if she wanted to forget, he was still deeply hidden in her memory and could not be erased. He gave her the first humiliation in her life, and then shattered her self-esteem again and again. The annoying ghost she thought she would never see again actually appeared again. Is this world without her, but still with this annoying ghost and Lily? Very good. A cold smile hung on the corner of Petunia's mouth. Now she is here. She is Petunia. From now on, there will be no Lily in this world. Everything starts here and ends here. You are a witch, said the little boy. A strong force lifted him up from the ground and floated in the air. Penny raised her injured hand, and her sleeve slid down to reveal the clotted wound. She licked the blood from the wound, and blood oozed from the clotted wound. There was blood on the corner of her mouth, and she said slowly and softly, Really? What should I do with you? Witches like to eat children, and I like to eat bad children best. Hee hee. Where should I start? You can't eat me. I'm the same as you. We're both wizards. The little boy said in panic. He was frightened by Petunia's eyes, because her eyes roving back and forth on him were really assessing which part was more delicious. We are different. I am not a monster like you. Penny's eyes became fierce, and she threw him to the ground. The little boy was thrown unconscious, and he lay curled up in a ball on the ground in pain. Penny approached without sympathy, watching his pain condescendingly and indifferently. Don't come close to me, or I will make your life worse than death. After saying that, Penny walked home without looking back. Her footsteps were erratic, and she started singing the strange and weird song she made. Only by singing that song could she empty all her thoughts so that she could not think about anything, and her mood became calm. Until Petunia's gray-white back was no longer visible, the little boy lay there for a while before covering his sore arms and shoulders and sitting up. Are they different? She was so proficient in controlling magic power. The little boy bared her teeth and rubbed the sore spot. She was so irritated by those muggle children that she was so cruel to him. She was indeed a wizard. The little boy was very happy and annoyed to be able to meet someone of the same kind so close. He hadn't told her his name yet. Next time they met, he would definitely tell her his name, Severus Snape. When they returned home, the door opened and her parents stood at the door very awkwardly. Her father hugged her mother and glanced around Penny's body. He saw the wound on her forehead and the blood on the corner of her mouth. Her pupils tightened. Her mother wanted to hug her and check her, but hesitated and stopped. She clasped her hands on her chest. Who hit you? Did someone hit you? Oh, God, did you? I didn't kill them. Petunia interrupted her mother's incoherent words, causing the two elders to gasp. I'm not. I just want to. The mother seemed to be reassured, but also panicked about trying to explain. Penny passed by them and walked into the house. Penny, your mother's worried about you. You are worried that your daughter is a murderer. Penny said coldly. They like the smart Lily, and they are proud of their daughter being a wizard. Lily is everything, and they have asked her to give Lily more permission since she was a child. It is obvious that Lily has been at Hogwarts, and it is she who is with them. As soon as Lily comes back from the holidays, she will overthrow the results she has worked hard for a long time. Everything about her parents revolves around Lily, and no matter where she goes, they can't get rid of Lily. Penny. Mom's eyes were red. How could she say that? Penny, we are a family, and we care about you. Dad called Penny, and the little girl stopped and turned her head, her green eyes full of ice. I am not the little sweetheart that made you proud. She died, disappeared, and will never come back. I am a monster." She looked at the frightened expressions of her parents with malice and laughed as she went to the basement. There was a trace of crazy joy in the laughter, and it seemed to be filled with endless sadness. The Evans couple waited until the trapdoor leading to the basement closed with a bang before they jumped in surprise. Their mother, Maria, leaned into her husband's arms and couldn't help crying. Why was this happening? Why did their daughter become like this? Mr. Evans didn't know how to comfort his wife, so he hugged her tightly and patted her back. He is also confused and tired now. He doesn't know who can give him a guide and tell them how to move forward in the future. The author has something to say. Petunia hates everything, and she also hates herself. She is a tragic existence now. Severus is destined to be beaten by Petunia. She will not look good on this stupid kid now. 5 chapter for The Walking Dead. Green has quietly entered people's sight, leaving more and more traces around them. There are no more voices of children in the amusement park. The cracks in the cobwebs on the ground have been gradually buried by the weeds emerging from the ground. The old swing frame has no use.